Hello, hello, and happy Thursday. Welcome to the Purse Strings Lunch and Learn. My name is Maggie Nielsen, and I am a partner here at Purse Strings. We're all about providing financial tips, tricks, know-how, pieces of advice um, to get the wheels turning to start being financially fearless. But then when you're ready to, you know, work on your business financials, personal financials, get divorced, need a will, any of these great things. We have trusted financial professionals willing, ready, and able to work with you. We call those our purse strings approved professionals, and Andrea here is one of them. So we're so excited to have her on today to talk about Profit and Loss University, which is so important for your business. But before we dive into all that fun, Andrea, could you give us a little intro of who you are and what you do?
Sure, I'd be happy to. My name is Andrea Jenson, and my company is called the Cash Flow CFO. And we work with business owners who are looking for a trusted resource to help guide them to know their numbers, understand how to use them as a tool to make decisions in their business and to grow and scale their company, and also provide financial education that will help them to understand how their business model and all of their data that they're compiling in their business on a daily basis all works together and helps them to be more financially stable and use their business as an asset to create personal wealth.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad someone understands all the numbers, because as I was kind of advertising this, as a business owner, we're usually really good at what we do, but we're
Mhm.
not great with the numbers. That's not our specialty. That's yours. That's what your business does. But that's not everyone's specialties. But seeing your
Absolutely.
numbers and your profit and loss is so important.
Mhm. It is. There's a lot of amazing businesses out there that they went into business because they are really good at doing something, or they have this passion that they want to bring to the world and help serve people, but they didn't go to school to get an accounting degree or a business
Right.
degree, and they don't have all of this financial education. That it's not their fault. Even if they got a business degree to run the day-to-day financial operations of a business, you're not getting that that information. And so there really is a big gap, and a lot of business owners out there, they need this so that they can continue to do all the great stuff that they do um, through their business.
Definitely. Yeah. As a person who has a business degree, still farm that out to somebody else who's really an expert in that area.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
So yeah, many people are not sure about their numbers, and we look for trusted and guided help. And so, how do you kind of help them building a roadmap?
hmm So we offer a couple different services. So we offer outsourced accounting and fractional CFO. And a lot of times business owners are a little bit confused on what each of those roles are, and what specifically do they do in the business. So I like to give a little analogy to help them kind of visualize the role that everybody plays in the business. So imagine you're the business owner and you're driving down the road in your car. Sitting in your back seat is your bookkeeper or your accountant, or your tax preparer. They're looking out the rear view window of the car and they're reporting on where you went, how much you spent. They have a historical viewpoint of the business. So sitting in your front seat next to you, the business owner, is your CFO. And CFO stands for Chief Financial Officer. And their role is to look out the front windshield of the car to tell you what's coming up, how to be prepared, how to plan, and how to be profitable. So you need everybody in the car, but a lot of business owners confuse, oh, well, I have a CPA, they do my taxes, and I keep asking them to help me prepare a forecast or a budget, and they don't ever give it to me the way I keep asking. And it's because they're asking the wrong skill set for the wrong information.
That's such a great analogy to kind of think about, because yeah, you have the map of kind of where you're going, but you do need, I mean, you need the past, but you also need the future. And so that's kind of where you come in.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the stuff that we do to help business owners understand their numbers is set up strong financial systems and processes so that their accounts payable, accounts receivable, payroll processing, bank and credit card reconciliations are happening on a weekly basis. Their reconciliations are happening monthly, right after the close of the month, so that we're able to produce financial statements, by the 5th of the next month. So you've got real, data. There's not a huge gap and lag in getting that info. And then that goes to our CFO team, who then takes the P&L and the balance sheet and pulls out the data that is the key performance indicators, the measurements that are going to tell the business owner what's really happening in the business.
Right.
And they're going to put that into a management dashboard. They're going to do all kinds of supporting schedules, a staff utilization schedule. They're going to do a budget versus actual. They're going to look at what are all the components. They're going to break it down into each of the different segments of the business so that you can identify where you're hitting the mark, right? Yeah. Where your budget versus actual is matching up. And then also where your budget versus actual might be off the mark. So when you just look at your P&L, it's just a bunch of numbers, right? It doesn't give you right? You're like, okay, now what? So that's the role of the CFO, is to take and analyze that data and present it to the business owner to say, here's what's working, here's what's not, here's my recommendations, and we monitor and we adjust. We monitor and we adjust, and we just keep going that way so that all the time as a business owner, am I on track to hit my 1 year, 3 year, 5 year financial goals?
And I like how that's like a kind of a monthly meeting, or, checking it out. It's not like at the top of the year, this is our plan, and hopefully by December we hit the mark. Because it doesn't work like that. As our personal budgets, we've seen how it doesn't work like that. There are so many different changes and little nuances to make it better or worse throughout the year. And so that consistent checking in and analyzing your numbers is very important.
Yeah. And the other side of that too is that there's a lot throughout the year that your business, some opportunities that might come your way. So you might get approached by somebody who wants to do a joint venture, or you might get a new way to do what you do more cost effective. And you need somebody that can run that analysis for you and flow that decision through your existing model and operations to say, here's what the actual effect of that decision would be, and help you to really understand that so that you're making informed decisions versus what a lot of business owners, I think, go by their gut and they go, oh, I think it'll work. Let's try it. And really what you're doing there is you're rolling the dice with your future, right? Because as business owners, our businesses are our number one wealth creation asset for almost 90% of them, right? That's the case. And so what you're doing by making those blind decisions is that you're rolling the dice, right, with your financial future. And so it's a big risk to take to do that without having all the proper analysis in front of you.
And one of those stats that you sent over was that business owners have up to 84% of their personal net worth tied up in their business. That's a wild stat to me. So managing your business finances is so essential because it is managing majority of the time your personal finances as well. I mean, it's your retirement and your future.
They're so closely intertwined. And as business owners, a decision you're making on your business finances directly impacts your personal, right? Because it's either going to affect the way that you're taking, a draw or a salary, or you're bonusing yourself, all of those compensation pieces. But at the end of the day, that's going to flow through to your tax return. And there's just a lot of strategy that needs to go into place to be setting yourself up and really treating your business like the asset that it is.
Yeah. So last month we were talking about the importance of taxes and doing, different tax things. And so do people hire you and a CPA, or do you kind of do both those positions when helping a business, make the best of their money and get those best tax benefits as well?
Yeah, so we work in conjunction with their CPA, their tax preparer. So the dream scenario for a business is to have the CFO is kind of like your quarterback, right? So they're going to know your business model inside and out. They're going to know what you're trying to achieve both through the business financially and personally financially. And they're the ones that are going to help you craft the plan and the strategy. But then we're going to need outside experts to come in. One of those is a tax strategist who should also be your tax preparer. And they're going to say, okay, if you do this, this is what you're going to do for taxes. Okay, well then what if we do this? Well then this. So you're having that informed conversation. So you're being proactive versus reactive.
Right.
And then also, insurance. We're going to bring in an insurance person. We're going to bring in a financial advisor. We're going to bring in like all of these other resources, a 401k administrator, all of these things that as your business is growing and the complexity is growing alongside of it, your CFO is the one that's kind of like bringing in and filling the bench with all the experts that you need and the other piece of that is, so the tax strategist is creating the plan, but a lot of tax strategy comes down to proper documentation.
Yeah.
And so you can have the best tax plan in the whole world, but if you're not documenting and doing it the exact correct way, it's void, right? It doesn't do you any. So that's the other role of a CFO in a business, is to make sure that the tax plan that they've been handed is being implemented, documented, all of the timing is right on, and things like that. So it's protecting all that work that you're doing in the strategy side.
And we're always, try to tell people it is about that team aspect, because you can't be an expert in everything. And so it's really great to have that team to kind of manage some of those dates and those numbers. And last month when we were talking to one of our tax professionals, it was funny how she was saying, people think they hire a tax professional and then they just save money. She goes, we can't just come up with all the facts that what you spent, what you did. She's like, we can't just, magically wave a wand and all the numbers are there. You have to be an active participant in that. And so having, a CFO really helps in that situation, because they can't just make out the numbers out of their head.
Yeah, absolutely. Like having that bring everybody into the same meetings, right?
Yeah.
Have it at least twice a year where you're bringing all of your financial team together and you're telling them, here's what I would like to achieve. And then they go and work together to craft that for you. But the crutch there is you have to have timely financials. We have to know, is this working? And also, is that plan that we put in place at the beginning of the year still relevant based on how business has ebbed and flowed throughout the year too? So there's just a lot that being, at the end of the day, it's proactive, right? It's managing all of those different components, but it's also, as a business owner, bringing in the right people to help take that weight off your shoulders, right?
Definitely.
So you will invest in those services, but they should, pay back 4 or 5 times an ROI, if, on what they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about the right professionals and get them all on the same call. That's something I think a lot of people think they're almost competing for your business, but they're all working together for your actual business. But, for your services as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
One of our viewers wrote in and asked if there's any big mistakes we should get in front of, or you see often that we should try to get in front of right away.
I would say waiting too long to close out your monthly financial period. I think that most business owners allow their accountant, bookkeeper to go 15, 20, 30, maybe even longer before they're getting that financial data. And it's too late for you to react. It's you're looking at things and you can't pivot. You can't change the course. It's going to be, you're too slow. So just imagine that if you get it 20 days after the end of the month, then, you're looking at it. Okay. By the time you make a decision and course correct, you've already lost a whole nother month of whatever's happening in the business. So timely financials would be something that will just pay in dividends to a business owner.
That's a great piece of advice. And then as we kind of go into the new year, are there any things that you recommend people do, like at year end or going into the new year, so it's, starting off on a good foot?
Yeah, this is the perfect time of the year to put together a forecast. and a budget for
Awesome.
next year. So by looking at, what happened historically, what do you expect to happen in the new year, layering in, you want to count for your seasonality and things like that in your business, but you also want to put, what are my revenue goals, my growth goals going into the new year? And what is it going to take, team, marketing budget, all those things. If you want to grow your revenue, you're going to need more leads. If you want to grow your sales conversion rate, you're going to need to put more training there. So looking at which component of the business is it that is going to drive your goals, and putting a plan in place now to bring in those resources. And to, when we look at creating a budget, we say every dollar in revenue that comes in equals 100%. And that 100%, you get to choose how you're going to allocate it based on 4 big buckets in your business. So that's cost of goods sold, general and administrative expenses, marketing, and profit. And if you take that 100% and say, okay, 40% should go to your cost of goods sold, 20% or so should go to your general and administrative, 10% to your marketing, then you've got your profit bucket that has to get split down even more to service any existing debt, pay your taxes, your income taxes, and be used for reinvestment into the growth of the business, and then pay for distributions. So when you look at it strategically like that, it's much easier to conceptualize. It's just like going to Target and going, okay, I need to get something in. I need new socks. I need laundry soap. I need, in each of the different departments, you've got to divvy up your budget, right? So something in your business. And so when you're planning for next year, look at, marketing is any cost to get a lead. Okay, what are my lead sources now? And just really go through and be intentional with each of your line items is a great way to get started for next year.
I love that vision of, separating every dollar, because it's much easier for me to conceptualize and our marketing budget is 5,000. Okay, what does that mean in the scheme of things, and how do we keep it around there? Yeah, it's a great analogy to have.
Absolutely. And when you're looking at your marketing budget specifically, you need to look at the different channels and track them. So if you could do anything in your business, wave that wand, it would be track every piece of data that your business has, because it's going to be so valuable. So if you don't have the budget to afford a CFO right now, the best thing you could do is start to track data, put systems in place to track your labor costs, your utilization, all your marketing channels, your sales conversion rate, all of these things, so that you have, 1, 2, 3 years of data, so that when you are in a place to bring in a CFO, they can look back at that. That's a gold mine for them. And they're going to be able to tell you so much about your business and your model, and help to create that perfect strategy for you going forward.
Do you recommend any systems or programs, or just an Excel sheet of how you would track some of that?
Yeah. So a project management software for a service-based business is an absolute must. And have your team be logging their time. I know it's not the funnest thing to do, and it's not sexy, and it's not any of those things, but it is so valuable. And they don't have to track it down to the minute. If they can just be pretty, checked emails 15 minutes, did client, really what you want to see is, if you're doing client work, how much time is going to each client, so you can do your job costing, because you want to make sure that what you bid the job at, what you're selling your work and services for is only about 40% of what it is that it's costing you. So all of those things are going to really help you to understand that.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
And so for the work that you do you specialize in being a fractional CFO in a certain thing, a certain what's the word I'm looking for, type of business, or do you help all different types of businesses, people who own stores versus people who just do online and different things like that?
Yeah, no, the beauty of what we do is we are, brick and mortar, online businesses, all different industries, because really it comes down to your business model. And there's so
Hmm.
many similarities in different business models that might be in different industries or online, offline, e-commerce, service-based, things like that. So we've got clients in all of those different areas. And I think that there's so many things that, which is also really cool about what we do, is there's so many things you can pick and pull from different industries and
Oh, I'm
different
sure.
business
Yeah.
models that really are kind of like a competitive edge for businesses. So yes, we serve all different types and love that ability to do that.
I'm sure it's so fun knowing like all these different businesses and how they work and all these different things.
Oh, absolutely. And all the different business owners, right?
Yeah.
How do they make decisions in their business? What is their risk tolerance in their business? It's just fascinating to learn and be with all of these different business owners that are really, really doing some cool stuff in the world. So
Mhm.
it's really nice to be a part of that.
I just want to remind anyone listening, if they do have any questions, they could pop them into the chat. But I wanted to ask, if someone is interested in working with you, what does that
Mhm.
process kind of look like to get started?
Sure. So our service in particular is it's a done for you service, which is really nice because the business owner shows up. We do a real deep dive into what are you trying to achieve. We dig into their business model. We dig into their financials. We do some testing on how are you using your accounting software. Is there a way to optimize that? We look at prior year tax returns to make sure that things, tick and tie with what we're seeing in the data. So we're validating the data integrity so that we can use it going forward to create those projections. And then really, we have a systematized we've got a 5-step proprietary model that we take everybody through. And it's every single call and every single deliverable is mapped out, and it's all very strategically crafted so that as we go through the business, the very first thing we're doing is we're saving them money. So
I love it.
when I say you're going to invest in these professional services, it really is an investment because we can show you exactly how we're going to give you your return on your investment. And
Right.
versus Facebook ads or, something that you're
Yeah.
like, hope and pray this one works. So
Right.
I think
Exactly.
that it's important that as you're considering working with different partners in your business, that you take the view of that lens. Is this an investment or is this an expense?
Hmm.
And when you're doing anything around your finances, it's should be an investment.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, as all business owners, we know those things that are kind of risky to spend money on, but those ones that are like, well, this is going to be worth it. It's going to pay for itself
Mhm.
no matter what.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
somebody just goes, she's good.
Aw, thank you.
um, and so before we close up here, is there any other tips, tricks, pieces of advice we didn't touch on today that you want to make sure is shared with our community?
Yeah, I would just say for where we are right now at the time of year, it's good to take stock in what worked this past year, what you think is going to be changing, or there's some big
Hmm.
changes in our economy that are happening right now. So, do you have a plan in place? A lot of the business owners, if you want to move into the next year confidently and reassured that you're going to be okay, have a few different plans in place. If
Yeah.
this, then I'll do this. If this, then I'll do this. And when you sit and think about all of those things and put the plan together, then your level of confidence is so much higher. And then also
Hmm.
when opportunities come your way, you'll know how you can maneuver within those and move pretty quickly, which is cool because when you get into tough economic times, that's really when some of the biggest businesses have taken off and
Yeah.
have succeeded. And what's going to happen is the successful ones, the ones that have these plans and have the ones that are going to, have a tougher time. So good time of the year to do that. Get your forecast and your budget in place, and really be intentional about lead generation, how much you can pay, what's your customer acquisition cost, what's your customer lifetime value, and then of course meet with your tax preparer now versus when they're really busy, and at least get them a projection, like get them as far up as if you've got, in a couple days now, hopefully you'll have November closed, get them that year to date P&L so they can see where you're going to end up and help you start putting that strategy in place, before it's April 1st and everybody's frantic.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a ton of great advice. I really thank you for coming on today and sharing your expertise. If anyone needs to reach out to Andrea, don't be afraid. She'd love to have just, a little consultation call just to make sure it's a great fit. Her email's been going through the bottom here. She's also one of our Purse Strings approved professionals, so you can check her out on our site, pursestrings.co. And this was really great. So I was super excited to have you on, and we'll see everyone again here next week.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.